In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create a basic list in Jetpack Compose. So let's get started by creating a new application in Android Studio. I switch to Android Studio and create a new project. It's an empty Compose activity from the project type, and next I name it my Compose lists and I save it in my Compose course directory. All settings are fine. I press finish and wait for the project to be created. Alright, my project is created. Next, I'm going to create the list, but for the list I will need some items and some data in order to be used in the list. But I will need some data in order to display in the list. So let's create a data type, a data class in fact, that I will use to construct my list. So I go to the main package of my application and then I create a new package. I name it data, and inside data I create a new data class. I name it profile. It can be used to create some profiles for people. And this class is going to have properties like name and ID. So let's specify them. Val name, its type is string, and it will also have picture. The type of picture is going to be integer because I'm going to use Android resources for that, and I'm going to load the pictures for profiles from the drawable directory, and we know that its type is integer. It can also have an ID. It's a good idea to create another property called ID that has a unique value by default. So I'm gonna use string as its type, and for its value I'm going to use the UUID class from Java util package, and I'm gonna use random UUID and then cast it to string in order to have a unique string for its ID. Alright, next I can construct the list that is the data supposed to be displayed in my list. So outside my main activity class and in the same file I create a temporary list. I name it my list or simply profiles list. I created using list of and then profile. I'm gonna create several profiles. Let's enter profile from the data package, and then I'm gonna specify the names like John, and then the picture, which is integer, I use r.drawable .john. Note that I don't have any picture added to my drawable directory yet that I can use them for profile, so I will add them next. I have some pictures in my pictures directory. I have them here. I copy them. I go back to Android Studio and paste them in the drawable directory. So paste them here. Okay. Now John is known for my code, and then I create profile Andrew r.drawable.andrew The next one is Elisa r.drawable.elisa profile Edward r.drawable.edward Jackie r.drawable.jackie Jade r.drawable.jade Jane r.drawable.jane and profile Jennifer r.drawable.jennifer next profile Gerard r.drawable.gerard and the next one is John, but we have already specified John, so I use Ted r.drawable.ted. Note that the values do not have to be unique, the values for names, so I can duplicate these lines to have a longer list. So I press Ctrl D and duplicate the lines in order to have a longer list. The next step is displaying our list. In order to display a list, we can use a composable called lazy column or lazy row. If you want to display a vertical list, you can use lazy column, and if you want to display a row, you can use lazy row. So I'm gonna create a composable inside which I will create my list. So I type comp and press enter and name it my list UI. Inside of it, I'm going to use the list items that I have created in the same file. So I use lazy column and I import lazy column. Note that lazy column works similar to a normal column, so you can have some modifiers for it. So I'm gonna add a modifier to the lazy column so that I can have fill max size. Like this. And in fact, I can make this my vertical list UI. And once you have your lazy column, you can use several ways to display the items. First of all, you use items. And you can see items has several forms. The first two forms are items, 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 and the next two forms are items indexed. And I will show you how different they are. Basically, they will do the same thing. They will display your items. But I'm gonna start simple. I'm gonna use the form that takes in a list. So items, and I'm gonna use the items parameter. In fact, items, you can see the form that has items parameter, and for its value I'm gonna specify my the profiles list, and then we have, let's import items, and now we can display the items here. I press Ctrl P and you can see that we are inside item content lambda, and this lambda receives a profile item. So it's a profile item that I can use. I'm gonna create a row. Let's import row. Let's have a default preview. I'm gonna change the content of my default preview here so that I see a fresh preview of what I am creating and designing. My compose lists theme, I put my new content inside my compose lists theme. That is the theme of my compose application. So I call my vertical list UI here, and now I should have a preview. Let's build and refresh. Inside the row I can have a text that will display the profile name, and an image to display the profile picture. profile.picture, and for its content description I'm gonna use profile name, and now let's add some alignments. I'm gonna put the row in the center of the column, therefore I'm gonna add another parameter for the lazy column, and that is the horizontal alignment. For its value I use alignment center horizontally, so that they will be centered horizontally inside it. And you can see that we have a list that is not yet beautiful, so I need to make some changes. For example, inside the row I add a modifier, I add a weight of 1F, I give equal weights to both UI items, weight 1F, and also for the image I'm gonna clip it. I'm gonna clip it in order to have a round image. These are for profiles, and often round images are used for profiles. So I use rounded corner shape, let's use 50% as the amount of roundness. And also for the image, let's use a content scale of crop in order to crop from the center of the image and have good aspect ratio. For the text I'm going to also use a style material theme dot typography dot like caption, and let's also have some alignment for the row. This is a row, so I can align it vertically, center vertically, so that the text will be displayed in the center. I can do the same for my image, but the image doesn't need it anyway, because the image has enough height to fill that height. So build and refresh again. Build it. Alright, let's also add some padding to our row. Modifier dot padding, so that we have enough outer padding for the items in our row. 16 depth. And I'm gonna also increase the roundness percentage to 100. Yes, you can see the changes in real time. 100. And Also, I'm gonna give it a size. I'm gonna give the images a size. Like 150 dp. Importing size. All right. Okay, not bad. I'm gonna increase the size of the caption a little bit. So for the style, I'm gonna change it. I change it to H4. All right. Next, I'm going to use a horizontal version of the same list, because you will often want to also create horizontal lists in your application. So I'm gonna showcase how it works. I create another composable. I name it my horizontal list. And I will use the same content, but I will use lazy row in it. Like this. Lazy row. And I'm gonna use a modifier I use the maximum width, fill max width, and again I'm gonna use items. In fact, to save time, I'm gonna copy the content of the previous lazy column and add it inside my lazy row, like this. And this time I'm gonna give the rows a fixed size, because I want to have a smaller size. I want to display them in the top section of my application screen. So I'm gonna give it a size. Let's give it a width of 150 dp. In fact, I'm gonna make it a size instead of giving different values for width and height. My horizontal list. And also, in order to be able to click on the items, I can add a clickable modifier to the rows. So I add clickable to the rows, both rows. And once any item is clicked, I can display a toast. So toast make text. I need to use the context, so I get access to the context in my composable with this val. I create a variable context and I access the application context with local context.current. Let's import local context, and now I can construct my toast. Profile dot name clicked, and then the duration toast dot length short, and show it. I'm gonna use the same toast for the lazy row as well. Okay, I didn't have the context for my horizontal list, so I define it local context current. Let's preview our list with a preview annotation. Background like the other preview. Show background true. And now I can see it. Let's give it a smaller amount of height. You can see that the size is not that nice, so I use 150 as its width and 100 as its height. Build and refresh. So I now also change the caption's style. For the lazy row, I change it from H4 to caption, like this. Okay, next we can run our application to see the list and how it works on our emulator or on our real device. So I go to the set content section, and here inside the surface that I have, I'm gonna use a big column with a fill max size modifier. And then I'm gonna use both lists inside it. So first I use my horizontal list, and then I use my vertical list UI. Now let's run it on the emulator to see how it works. Alright, you can see that we have our list. We have both our horizontal list and our vertical list. We can even click them because we have made them clickable. Yes. Looks like for the vertical list I have used the wrong item when adding the clickable modifier. So for my vertical list, let's check it. Yes, I have added to the text. I need to add it to the whole row. And now it will be fixed. Okay. Yes. Now we can see that we can click the whole row for the list and see our toast. In case you want to access the indexes for your items, you can use another version of the items function. So for example, for my vertical list, I used items. I can change it to items indexed. And the difference between this function and the previous one is that this function also gives us the index of the items. You can see that from the signature of the function. It also gives us the index as well as the item. So I also get the index. The first one, you can see the index, and the second one is the item. So for example, I can use that inside my toast. So profile name with this index. Index. Clicked. And I can use that for the other as well, but I don't need that. So I just leave it as is for the horizontal list. I run it again. You can see that now we have indexes as well. 6 Jane clicked, 8 Gerard clicked. Alright, that's it basically for how you can create a simple list in Jetpack Compose. You can see that you can use vertical lists. You can display vertical lists using lazy column, and you can display horizontal lists using lazy row.